Yeah, but you know, well, the idea is that it can be somehow changed or cured, right? Or they need to stop having homosexual activity. Now, this argument is an argument that the Imam in the film also makes when the young man goes to him. I disagree with that argument. I feel that homosexuality is as natural as heterosexuality. And voice your opinion in a room full of people. I think everyone in this room will disagree with you. But I hope... No, it is your duty to express yourself. It's very brave to express yourself. I'm telling you, not one person in this room agrees with you. But what I would hope is that after watching this film, and maybe we can have some tea or coffee together later, we can continue this discussion, because I certainly feel that maybe something has possibly shifted in how you perceive these people. Now, they're all believers, yeah, and they all believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them this way. And these are wonderful human beings, and I think they have as much of a right to be Muslim as anybody else does. But being a Muslim does not mean that they need to give up something that is also so deeply part of them, which is their sexuality. I think both of those things can go together. I wish Muslim was in this room tonight, because you could have a very interesting discussion also about what the Quran says. And I'm not going to pretend to be a scholar, even though I've studied the Quran. I'm just a bill maker, but you could have a very interesting discussion about what the Quran says and how it says it, about appreciating difference within our ummah. And there are all kinds of people that make up the ummah. So you know, let's also put you in touch with Muslim maybe. And I'm so glad that you came to see the film. Thank you.
Thank the young man who's leaving, because I think one of the issues that was brought up in the film was some of the internalized fear and some of the internalized hatred that ends up happening when you are taught one thing about what you're supposed to be, and then you are experiencing something else, and then you're trying to figure out kind of how to resolve it. So number one, I want to ask the first question, which is kind of that uncovering that you did within the film, although it seemed more in the beginning than towards the end, and it seemed also more towards the women than with some of the men, and talk about that. That's number one. And number two, considering that this is a human rights organization, and this is a human rights annual general meeting, I know something that I've struggled with here in the States when working on issues in other countries is, what is the best way for me to be effective as an American and not to be more harmful, particularly when utilizing the human rights rhetoric? So I'd like your thoughts regarding that.
I think that's very valuable. I think actually what you said, the gentleman from India, who I actually, from Kashmir, I am sorry, and but from Kashmir, the Indian part or the Pakistani part? The Indian part, okay. So, I mean, you know, this is a perfect example of what, I'm not being disrespectful to anything you said, but the kind of sentiments that were voiced are sentiments that exist within many religious communities, certainly in Christianity as well. We all know this, living in this deeply Christian country. So, you know, it's a question of how can you be effective. And I think what I have learned is that the way to be effective is to work from within the religion. This needs to begin bottom up, not top down. Very often when gay activists in the West assume that they can use their models of gay liberation and transform them into these other contexts, that's the problem. I think that's a problem with each one of the people in the film as well. And the change needs to come from within. We don't know how long it's going to take, but I think it's already happening. Mohsin going at the end. A lot of those people you see in the room at the end had discussions similar to what you just said with Mohsin for 2 days before he arrived at the point of doing that workshop with them in South Africa, where the old lady, she's about 80 years old, and she says that, I'm so happy what has happened in this room today, and I feel that, you can be gay and you can be a good Muslim. Now this is a woman who for her entire life believed that homosexuality could be cured. And it was only when the disease of homosexuality started arriving at her doorstep, because she's a social worker, she works with Muslim communities every single day, is when her mind even opened to sitting in the same room with Mohsin, and she was completely transformed by the experience of doing that. So, it's going to be very challenging, and I certainly don't think that in my lifetime there's going to be that statement representing all of Islam coming out and saying that it's okay to be gay and Muslim. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think that films like this, discussions like this, open the door, and I think there's something in your consciousness that shifts, and that's why it needs to be seen everywhere by as many people as possible.
I just want to add to your comments actually, because from a perspective of somebody who's, as you know, we've done work on this.